Welcome, Shivani. It is live now. You can start.
Thank you, Shabana, and thank you, Maven. So once again, we are here, under the series Consciously Positive. And so today we thought that we talk about, you know, worldly success, or in a much more probably worldly success and then emotional security. So the thought to kind of contemplate or discuss or talk about today on this was keeping in mind a lot of things which are happening around us every day, and broadly in context to the kind of success, the kind of heights people are reaching today, but still we find a lot of not so welcoming and not so welcoming and not so respectable, I would say, things happening to human life. And that's how we thought that why don't we kind of pick up this subject. Initially we thought about putting financial security versus emotional security, but then one thought that maybe worldly success would be a broader encompass, because that would surely have financial security as one of the key areas or vertical pillars. And so that's how one concluded that why don't we pick up this. And this was somewhere also, if I remember correctly, last time when one was, part of this. I remember there was a discussion where it was that why don't we kind of also talk on a lot of things which are happening, and they are very much, um, I would say, very much coming under the ambit of consciously positive, because a lot of stuff which is happening which is not healthy, it's unhealthy. I would say it's disrespectful to this life and to this beautiful universe. That's happening. In spite of a lot of rise in the in the sector of mentoring, coaching, training at all levels. Today we have CEO coaches, to lifestyle coaches and mentors and retreats. But still, this is happening. So that's how this happened. And so, again, my approach has always been that one would always like to kind of discuss it more at a hands on and practical level, rather than a very traditional focused approach of uh, a lot of research and a lot of things which have been written and talked about. Essentially, for me, I believe is that, yeah, research study all is very good. It's good in a way, but maybe my personal journey now has brought me to a point which is more than 2 decades of professional, or the to be in this world as an adult, that it's good to be sometimes a mature or novice and kind of walk the path. So that's where this originates, this approach. And so if we pick up, I would probably elaborate on, say, emotional security. Now, what is emotional security? We have heard about emotional intelligence a lot. Today we talk about in corporate trainings or otherwise, that I've in fact written an article on how it's not just IQ and you know but it's also EQ, emotional quotient, uh, which is also equally important. And But emotional security is, what is emotional security? Is it endangered, or not being addressed in today's era and time? So if like a very you know simple way we say, uh, it's like essentially where you don't find your emotions. They vary, they would vary, but somewhere it is not like going to such extremes for an individual that you just go out of bounds. It's beyond your control. You're not able to kind of be in your senses, or even if you're in your senses, you are taking such actions, or you're speaking in a way or conducting such stuff which is which is completely bizarre, I would say, completely bizarre. So, if I talk about what is emotional security, I think it would be being very confident, being very comfortable, being with yourself, and being very acceptable about yourself, about your situation, about your dynamics. And a lot of emotional security, I would say, even stems out, which, for giving this session while I was going through a lot of things which were written. One point which I came across, stuff like emotional security is being empowered, confident, and comfortable in your own skin. Walking the world with authenticity and conviction, and do what is meaningful. But what I feel is missing around is that emotional security. The thread of emotional security is also, has a very significant quotient about relationships, about being with your own people. uh, I feel that that's a very important pillar or a dynamics of emotional security, that no matter what, uh, even in the worst of the situations, I know, or any of us will know that, yeah, I have something to fall back upon, even it's like really down dead there. Still we have, that security, that safe zone, that feeling of being safe no matter come what way. And in today's time, the reason this came, and the point of worldly success is that, you know and if we talk about worldly success now, that would encompass power, wealth, status, for sure, finance, wealth, abundance of wealth. Uh, Now, financial security is also a part of it, but yes, worldly, the moment we use the word success, I think it goes beyond the word of security, So, financial security would probably be where, it's not just meeting your needs, because that would be a having reached a point of financial stability, but it goes beyond meeting your needs. So it's you have that bandwidth of splurging beyond the needs. So worldly success would, we talk about worldly success. Yeah, he is very successful. So all the material aspects, uh, all the so in the social dynamic aspect, in all these aspects, the person is like really very high up there in the ladder. Now today we do see a lot of examples, and we are driven towards that worldly success. And yeah, for sure, it would bring stress to a lot of us who may not have reached that point, or are still vying to reach that point, but for 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 many reasons which may not be very clear to us, we are not able to reach there. So when we talk about this worldly success, where you are doing great in your career, you have reached a point in your life where you are that high flying profile, and personally also in your life you are living a very lavish lifestyle, and you're all there, but we find, uh, in the recent, I would say, years, it's been very shocking that suddenly you come across a news or a happening where the person has been great emotionally, but suddenly you come to know that, oh, something very untoward has happened, and the person has done that himself or herself to himself. And you just wonder, what is this? Like, if I talk about in the professional corporate world, there are many examples, but just to probably say one example, which was a very known one, was a cafe coffee day CEO, kind of suiciding, jumping into the river. And likewise, in different sectors, whether it's from the entertainment and Bollywood world, from which has a lot of impact on today's people and today's lifestyle. Every second person is trying to walk that path in their personal journey. Even if we are not celebrities and stars, we are trying to wear like that. We are trying to dress up like that. We are wanting to kind of live that lifestyle. Uh, so otherwise also, if you analyze, most of our public life, whether you see it on social media or whether you see it in any other way, there's a lot of influence and impact now, or in other sectors. But suddenly you see things happening, and you are shocked that, oh, why did this happen? Or it never came across this person who's doing superb, and how does this happen? Likewise, though I agreeing or disagreeing or debating on the case is different, so we are not getting into over there. But like this recent incidences of some of the men getting on camera live and kind of talking about the miserable life they have, and though they put a context about some thought to be given to the situation of um, males or men folk in the country, because there are very strict laws for female protection, but not for them. So that's a different context. But coming to the context which we are today into, which is worldly success versus emotional security, uh, somewhere it stuck that, oh, you are into such a good profession. uh, One of, you are probably in some companies which people dream about. I mean, if I talk about myself, yeah, maybe TCS group is something which I would have. It was something which, initially my parents, my father used to say, but as one grew up, one realized that, yeah, this is a group great enough to be there for lifetime. And suddenly you realize, why did they do this? No matter what was going, the worst things in your life, but what made you take such an action, and in such a way? Or you find today a lot of you know I'm not I think it may not be a great idea to kind of name here any institution or sector or people. But the other thing which I found was that, uh, there are a lot of guys or girls from so-called very premier educational establishments of our country. And I was just studying the chronology, and I found a lot of them moving from a completely the area where, there's lakhs and lakhs of youngsters who kind of study hard to get into that, and they finish off their life trying to get into it. But there are guys who got into it, and you saw most of them moving towards becoming spiritual gurus, or getting into the realm of occult sciences, etc. And somewhere, if you kind of go through a little deep, the question comes: is there a emotional bankruptcy somewhere across in our ecosystem? Because it's not just about people who have are like high up there, but I mean, these guys, they were pretty okay, good careers. So yeah, worldly, if we talk about the worldly success, in many ways at different variations was there. Somebody probably was a billionaire, millionaire, or somebody was doing great and again having. Some people were on a journey towards it, pretty good, pretty okay lifestyles. But was there a gap in the emotional security quotient, both in the personal space as well as in the professional space? And yes, surely the needle directs towards that. And that's where one related that, yeah, when today people are talking about, you know, in fact, I have written an article on mentoring, coaching, and all, where I have spoken about that it's not only IQ, but it's SQ and EQ. So in organizations, maybe if you go through a lot of, articles or programs going on in corporates, or certain case studies in very well established magazines like Harvard's and all, you get to know that, yeah, there is this increased emphasis. And in India also, we come across many companies having this concept of mentoring buddy or buddy mentoring or something like that, kind of a concept where you have within the organization someone whom you can kind of, with no holds bar, pour your heart down about whatever the frustrations, insults, humiliations, or politics, or whatever you are facing in the corporate. Like, there was this girl from a very well established consulting company. She kind of ended her life, and her parents were in a bizarre state in Kerala, and they kind of got onto online with Rahul Gandhi to kind of discuss that there should be a mechanism to kind of see that how people who are facing a lot of mental stress, a lot of anxiety for whatever reasons, within the corporate structure, should have someone to address that, rather than people ending up like this. Or you see in the educational institutions, or people going for training youngsters, like 15 years, 18 years, 16 years. You find a lot of, there's a sudden, there things were happening earlier as well. It's not that the things were not happening, but maybe there is a sudden rise. And also this this balance that, you have somewhere managed to be so called successful, or worldly successful, or generally successful, but still you are completely haywire somewhere as far as your uh, you know physical health, for sure. But more than physical health, it's your mental, emotional health, uh, completely bizarre. And uh, when one thinks about it in terms of uh, our grandparents or our parents, they were not that rich or anything. We were somehow managing our life. It was okay, it was not splurging of things. It was, in fact, on the contrary, there was a lot of value and respect for everything. Like, we used to we were not getting clothes and things like this, like it's available today. There's so much of plentiness in everything. uh, and it's for people down the ladder as well. So even it's across ladders, that you find even in the lower strata. If you meet the helpers which are coming to your home and all, they're pretty well off now. They're earning good. Every day you end up hearing that they are kind of going for this buying and that buying. Whereas coming back to that time when we were growing up, uh, yes, whatever we required, we all felt that, yes, our parents are struggling hard to get it. But somewhere that family system and that relationships were so strong that, uh, our parents had their struggles, their parents had their struggles and debacles. uh, Not at least so successful as in today's time, even a lower middle class or a middle class would be. I'm not talking about the upper class, because there's no point. But the whole dimension is that today, in spite of so much of uh, you know everything. uh, Leave apart the lower class and the lower bottom of the pyramid, but even at the top of the pyramid, you realize that there are there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress, uh, and so much so that you have today, by very well known names, foundations being set up for addressing depression, etc. And possibly that is one of the reasons where you have this industry, which is the psychiatric industry, and the all the coaches, the mentors, the people going for past life regression and tarot, and all these kind of things have really splurged so much in today's time in the last 10 years, only because, yeah, the people who have that affordability. Because see, if you don't have, you are just trying to meet your requirements, you will not have the money to kind of go for such things. But it is that segment which has the financial security. I would not even say financial security is much way ahead of financial security. Probably it would be termed as worldly comfort and reaching a point of worldly success, where you are going for such consultations, uh, and still, you find, you just find that why such behavior, why such conduct. I mean, recent was an incident where there's this very, I would say, this podcaster has been awarded by the government of India, but the kind of word and the kind of sentence the person used, and it was aired, one was shocked that even if it is a slip of tongue, how can you kind of come up with such kind of sentence? There can be no excuse, because this shows complete mental emotional bankruptcy. Now, so that means that emotional security, well, where is that? Now, if you kind of go dig deeper into emotional security, where does it come from? What are the pointers to it? So emotional security, when you are emotionally we have secure, means you're very, very kind of sorted out, which is you are consciously conscious. The session which one took about, that we have to be, we are every moment in that space of consciousness. And if we are in that space of consciousness and aligned to that light, it's conscious living in consciously conscious bliss, or consciously positive. And the moment if you are that, you can never be disrespectful, first for yourself, because the moment you conduct any such action on yourself or on anybody else, I guess you are not at all respectful about yourself. Your emotional quotient is down there, and it needs to be addressed. So that's where I felt that, where does this, how do you strengthen your emotional quotient? And one thought, while I was, doing the, just to get into, there were very good points mentioned that when you are emotionally secure, you're very self assured. There is conviction and authenticity. Now, where does this all come from? Uh, some of the examples are that when you know that you're very emotional secure, is that, just to put it into like a very structured thought points, that a very emotional secure person will say, let me think before I respond. So if I'm not ready, I'll say, no, no, sorry, I can't right now react to it, because I'm not able to kind of get that. I'm not in, because at that point of when you are emotionally secure, you are not in a hurry to prove yourself to the world or anybody, because you're sorted for yourself. So you'll be not in a hurry to kind of answer or react immediately. If you are not, you will say, no, give me some time, rather than just for the heck of it, coming out with something which you might regret later. So when there are other points like, you'll be very clear. You'll say no where it has to be said no. Like if some work you don't want to do, or you don't want to associate it, you have felt bad, you will be very clear that no, I'm not going to get into it. This is not my cup of tea, rather than no at any cost, which is very much propagated in our work ecosystem, that uh, results at any cost. Whereas when you are emotionally secure, for you, it's not like at any cost. You will say no where you feel that no, this is not a path I can walk. So in this, I'm not comfortable with that. Like somebody's hurt you, or said something, you're disturbed, you'll be very clear about it, that listen, this is not something which I really liked, and I'm not comfortable with this. So that you are that so all these are indications. So in this, like somebody will criticize you, you will not kind of become like really negative about it. You try to understand it, and if you feel that yeah, it's something to kind of address, you'll address. If you think no, it's not originated from that point, you'll probably just forget, and then move on, carry on with it. Now, so when I was going through these pointers, that I am like that, like somebody is like, uh, criticizing. So you either kind of decide that okay, I'll work on it, or you'll say okay, okay, sometimes it happens, it's okay, the person would have understood it, and you just say that. Now, a very core point of why this is happening, and why emotional security, I think the investment right from the beginning is happening in a lot of worldly things today. And that's why you are getting onto worldly success. But the investment on your value system, on building a character, on principles, is rock bottom. And that's where possibly this worldly success is for sure going very high. But that emotional quotient, the emotional security spectrum, it may relate with empathy as well, and somewhere it may relate with SQ, which is spiritual quotient, and with the emotional quotient. It's not being nurtured. It's not being given a direction today. Uh, this is what, when I kind of was thinking about it, and I was reading a lot of stuff, and yes, they were going into those typical psychologist driven sections, like these points that an emotionally secure person would say that uh, let me think about before I respond, or will be saying clearly no, like I'm sorry, but I can't help with that because I have too many other commitments. So it'll be clear, or I'm not comfortable with that. Like if you don't find something good, you'll say, if you treat me like this, I'm going to step away because it's not healthy for me. Like it, there's a personal situation where someone in my work spoke in a particular way, and I remember, it did not take me even 1 hour to immediately call the final authority and say that sorry, I will not be able to kind of continue with the work if this is the person ahead, no matter what. I'm not looking for any apology. I'm not looking for anything, and it just finished off within with one hour, and then the person said, okay, you will be now dealing things with directly with me. So the other point was, this is who I am, and I'm proud of it. So you are not like very busy with proving yourself to the world, or in this business of, again, if you kind of link it with today's time, when in social media, everybody is posting, everybody is all the time into it. Uh, if you kind of read articles, they're all psychological platforms, and they're playing on the psychology of human, which is to prove oneself all the time, right? To show I am so great. And somewhere I think it's a indication of a society globally, that how emotionally we are you know, really going dipping down day by day. And the we have spoken about discussing right now about what is emotional security and what is the situation today, and by these examples and things happening in our ecosystem. There are various indicators about it, but it is also important at the same time to kind of get back that, which I have touched upon, that how do you kind of build that? And I feel that, yeah, one has to kind of invest, rather than investing on cars and making your living space too decked up, and investing on all the world comfort at your feet, whether it is for yourself or for your kids. uh, Investing on making, right from a very young age, uh, through stories, through the relationships which we have cut out completely with our relatives. We are very happy with our newfound ecosystem in whichever city or country we go into, and we start flying, getting back to the roots, making that realize, build bringing out the relevance of, you know inculcating how important it is to respect, uh, you know uh, yourself, your people, your family, your surroundings, the universe, what the universe is giving to us, today. uh, we don't realize the value of that. We are just misusing it. Building a value system. uh, Now, character, you don't build a character overnight. It takes over the years for a child to, for his correct character to bloom. And if these things are not developed, not given emphasis, uh, I don't think, what is the way to then address it. uh, because we are uh, we are for sure in that race of achieving that worldly success. But in that process, where are we moving for ourselves and for our own people, our own family first, and then for this larger context? So I think that's the way, because the more you are assured about yourself, no matter what failure happens, no matter heartbreaks for in relationships and affairs, or any kind of disgrace, humiliation, a public insult happens, I think if you're emotionally secure, which again is that security net is very important, is there, one within yourself and in terms of the family, because that thread is very important. And if that upbringing of yours has been nurtured, been flowered with that emphasis on not material aspects, but also the 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 other dimension, which is, which probably would be in a way to understand, from the spiritual aspect, what life is and what it is all about from the early times. Then the emotional your emotional inbuilt power would be very strong. And you would be secure no matter you are standing alone. You would still be there, because that that sprinkling at a very early stage of the spiritual dimensions brings in those aspects, like a very important example I was remembering while I'm talking was about Dr. Abdul Kalam Azad. Look how beautifully he said. I remember his speech, listening to it, and he said, I'm not at all good looking. So who will marry me? I'm very ugly." But he was saying with such a smile. There was no, you never felt pity, or you didn't, he was not at all in that way talking. And he said, just dream high, just have a lot of love. He said, okay, if that love was not there, but look how many people love me. So I'm not exactly verbatim copying what he said, but I'm kind of gathering the gist what he said. And he said, yeah, if the only reason why I'm so emotionally strong and I'm today happy is because my upbringing as a child, I was raised by very loving parents who met all my needs, no matter my family was very poor. And whatever his upbringing is, we all know that, he used to, in the morning, uh, distribute newspapers to meet the household requirements. Uh, so I think it's a very, very, very vibrant example of how worldly success and emotional. If your emotional thread, your family thread is very strong, then the worldly success is much more meaningful, and it's live and let live rather than live and let others die, and that includes the universe. So, another example which I would probably like to bring here, a very practical one, is that, it just came to me while I was talking about Dr. Azad's example, that, you see, we often talk about, the labor the class, very, very, the class which is like literally surviving every day. The farmer community, very, they're having tough times today, though I would say it's the heartbeat of our India, and it's the essential requirement for all of us. But the point which I want to bring here is that, they do not have that worldly success, right? The wealth, comfort, name, fame, nothing they have. But, still, if you see a lot of these people, the labor community, people who come in your house and work, I talk to them a lot, and if you kind of see, they don't have those comforts, but you will find many of them, there is a contentment on their face. There, I won't say a lot of them who have moved to metros and are now trying to ape the lifestyles which the so-called educated and literate have reached, where there is emotional bankruptcy. So I'm not talking about that segment, but the segment which is still associated and very closely linked with our with our with our village, with our rural ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutam, where, they're living as a family, this house, that house, that house, and they're all living together. And anything happens at anywhere, the other person is still there. Don't worry, we are all there together. So that concept, where it is still there, you will find uh, that emotional security is very strong, because they know that, okay, my uncle's house is next door, my father is here, my brother is here, and suppose something goes wrong financially, I'm not able to support, uh, they're all there to look after, they're all there to take over. Someone comes to attack or something, you have a backing to kind of support you. So I just felt that, yes, that was the thread, or that was the loke, which somewhere is completely stepped over, or at the back. And today it's more about the focus about worldly success. It's good. Worldly success is important. Financial security is important. But yes, uh, how, to what extent, uh, how much, that all will be in balance and will not lead to a point where it harms you and then the universe at large, if that emotional uh, that emotional thread with humans around, with your people, with your family, is strong. Your value systems have been made that strong, and you have nurtured them, you know, by because that happens in a family only, that can happen in a ecosystem where you are brought up with that stories, with that examples, with observing people around you. Because if your parents, you are observing that they are not living that life, you will surely not be influenced to follow that life. I can't teach my son or my daughter to be to be driven by values if I'm not practicing, because that will not happen at all. If I'm not respecting my parents and making them live with me, how can I give that preaching to my kids or future generation? It's just not, it's absurd. So it is in this context overall what's happening. One thought that maybe this is an important thing to talk about. And uh, when we say living consciously positive, I think, yeah, the to have your emotional security up there is very important. And your emotional security can be only strong when you have a very strong you know nurturing in strong value systems, and also your family ecosystem plays a role over there. But yeah, I would say many a times there are instances where the family ecosystem is not there, but the individual has led the life very beautifully in spite of all the odds, because that upbringing somewhere when the family was there was very strong, so the person could sustain it. Because see, emotional security, I somewhere feel that that has to have a flavor from the very early times of that little bit of spiritual awareness and awakening. It may not to be that extent. And this is what possibly was also there in our Indian life, this thing where it was into 4 or 5 segments, which was like, your bachelor journey. I'm forgetting the Hindi word about that. It was brahmacharya, where you are, you are in a ashram and you are taught. So that was all to make your character very strong, to do yoga and all, which is to kind of meditate, have focus. So you were made strong with your value system, with your character, with your knowledge, to be there in the life. And by the time, and then you get into that. Grahastashram, so that you are all ready to kind of lead that life with someone else, with complete respect, trust, value, dignity. And then there was obviously, then you have Grihastashram, then you have um, where you kind of get into the ashram at old age, and then there was one prasthashram. So I I felt that, yeah, today that emotional security somewhere got affected and impacted, because that that era of uh, strengthening your basic core foundation as a human being is got impacted. We are being provided by all the worldly comforts and success, whether we are as kids or as teenagers or as youngsters, but that fodder is not being given, which is important to lead this life in its purest and truest way. I think this is what broadly one can kind of talk in the most practical and in the most everyday approach. Uh, And maybe if there are some questions or some doubts or some other points which I would have missed out, it would be great to kind of hear it out.
Thank you, Shivani. It was really wonderful talk. I think we have Rajvin want to say something. And Minaji.
Okay,
Uh,
so
I actually have um, succeeded a lot of success, but I don't have emotional security. Emotional security is my caregiver, my mother, my father, my hypnotherapist. Right now, she's going through something. My mom is going through something. Like my mom's diagnosed with some challenge. So she had to go through therapy, and she she's free from the free from free from the diagnosis, but as preventive stage, she's taking preventive measure for it not to reoccur again. For it not to reoccur again. So I am going through a lot of stress, and yeah, for the past 3 days, it's just hard. I mean, you, we can have everything. We can have love love from the job, love from, but when loved ones go through problems, we also feel the pain. So
yes,
I am going. I'm going to see hypnotherapy twice a month. Um, so until this problem solved, solve is solved, and I have to see my friends to actually ease my pain. So emotional strong. I think I have a strong EQ because a few days ago, my mom's gynecologist, my very close friend, passed away. She was 81.
oh, okay,
But, my mom couldn't accept that. I think it was not it was not Dr. Rupi's negligence. It was, it just happened, from God. So God wanted me to be this way, to serve, to bring joy vicariously to everyone around me. So I am bringing joy vicariously to to everyone around me. So how do I deal with so upsetting situations? Do I meditate? I meditate a lot. I meditate a lot. I do self hypnosis a lot, and I'm waiting to see my hypnotherapist on Friday. So success, I have every success in the world. But I was talking that how to make the soul happy. It's the same question that I asked my hypnotherapist as well. Soul, soul to soul. And one one of the talks here in Mabin, Debashi was talking about, sorry, I just felt like sharing. How do we, how how do we know what is happening after death? We don't know, right? So we just live life the fullest and just enjoy ourselves. So what is your suggestion, Shivani?
Rajveer, I believe you are doing, as you said, a lot of things. My thought here was that, maybe you are practicing, you are doing a lot of things. Now, maybe it would be a good, uh, maybe it might be good to also now stop these things and just surrender yourself to that power
Yes,
and
I
surrender your soul to that power.
I am surrendering
Don't do
myself.
meditation, don't sit for hours. Just 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 connect in the most truest way to just think about the soul. Just think about whatever whatever the light you kind of
No, I
pray
mean,
to.
I just think of my Guruji every day, and that is
So,
why he gives me.
so my only point, Rajveer, here is that if you think about why Guruji every day, just remember the why Guruji, his light, and just just connect yourself with that light in general. It's not to sit for hours in a closed room and to do some certain things. You are doing all that. So when you ask me for what is my thought, I would say that possibly just do that simple thing and see what happens, because I think sometimes it's important to just follow a very simple and natural and a very unassuming path, and you might experience and feel uh, that your soul is what you are seeking. Your soul feels that with that supreme soul, because sometimes this is actually, I'll explain you why I'm saying that. Like sometimes what happens is we study a lot, just before exams, or I have to give, like today I have to give a session, so I'll start reading a lot, I'll start preparing myself a lot, because we are right from childhood, that's the approach. But what happens is at times it just clutters everything. We are trying to do many things in nowadays. This is what I was talking also, that today we are doing many things. Whereas if you see 50 years back, they had problems at that time as well. There were all kind of emotional problems, physical problems, financial problems, country problems at that time as well. But the only thing which I find that time was that, they were not going mad at any cost to God knows achieve what. And in that process, what happened is that they were sane, they were not insane. In today's time, maybe with a lot of education, a lot of wealth, a lot of facility, and all kinds of power, we are going all over the place, and as a result, I feel maybe we are landing up nowhere. So maybe for you it would be good that you just be very purely simple. It's not to sit somewhere and chant and do any kind of thing. Just simple, because that energy, that power, which is the supreme soul, is all over around, and that power is very unassuming. It's not looking for anything from us to be connected to him or her. The only thing which probably is there is only, if we are pure and soft and lovable, that's all. Whatever our difficulties are, whatever our problems are, yes, they probably are happening for whatever reasons. Now my only point or thought over there is that, why do we have to go and think so much about that? Why it is happening, why it's not happening. I think rather than going into all that, it is happening. Okay, the best way, with God's blessings, how universe blessing it is being addressed, which you are doing. Now, after that, it's the point of complete connect and surrender. The moment you surrender, and there is trust, there is patience, there's gratitude, there is love. That's all. Beyond that, I think there's nothing with us.
Yes, true.
So that's what I say.
I'm gonna do manifestation from now on. So yeah, thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Shivani. It was a very good session.
Thank you.
So hopefully, Shabana, we can organize more sessions like this, or someday me and Nahan will talk about this. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Shivana.
Sure.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much, Maven.
thank you so much, Shivani. It was really wonderful.
Thank
And we look forward to listening to more of you on topics like this. It was
oh,
really good. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone, and see
Thank
you
you,
again.
everyone.